Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm very happy that you can join us today. Before I welcome today's guests, I'd like to thank our 2025 President's Council sponsors. And these are companies that provide a tremendous amount of financial support for the California MBA, in large part so that we can continue to be the strong voice for the real estate finance industry before the California State Legislature and our regulators. So please join me in thanking this year's President's Council sponsors. Those companies are AmeriHome, Funding Shield, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, Wiener Brodsky Kiter, and Western Alliance Blank. Thank you so much for your support this year. We really appreciate it. With that, I'd like to turn to today's guests. I'm very happy to welcome my friend Augie Del Rio, who's founder and CEO of Gallus Insights. Augie, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Susan. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm very happy that we could finally make this happen and welcome you onto the podcast. So I always like to get started with a little background. So if you can share with our listeners how you got into the mortgage industry and starting Gallus.
100%. Well, thanks again, Susan, for having me in your podcast. Big fan of what you all are doing on the CMBA and your leadership. So thanks again. So to answer your question, like most folks in the mortgage industry, I got into mortgage by accident, right? So long story short, I was attending business school at the Yale School of Management. I did an internship at Barclays Capital for investment banking, and effectively throughout my summer there, I was involved in M&A activity or capital raising efforts for mortgage lenders and servicers. And when I graduated from business school when I did my MBA and I went to work full time, effectively all my investment banking projects were in the mortgage industry. Back then, where the leaders were Aqua and PHH, Walter, and others, right? So I'm talking about the 2010, 2012 period. But effectively, I became a quote unquote mortgage guy in investment banking. And that happened when I was at Barclays, that happened when I was at Goldman. And I ended up getting absorbed by the industry, but developing a huge affinity for what the mortgage banking does and how it operates.
It's once you get in, it's kind of it's kind of pulls us all in because it's just there's so many facets to it. That's what I've always found really interesting about the mortgage industry. So many elements and layers of it.
100%. Yeah, I mean, and on that note, I mean, to me, like it's the most fascinating, but also the most complicated industry that I've ever seen and studied. Right? You know, when you think about the front end and all the interactions with the touch points with the customer, the middle part, the middle end, or the back end for that matter, or all the capital markets implications, it's quite detailed and complex for sure.
It is. Industry very complex, fast moving, right? And can you share with us why is data so critical for mortgage lenders, and where are you seeing companies struggling with maybe leveraging that for their companies?
Yeah, it's a great question, Susan. So I think the first thing I would say to that is like, look, data is critical for individuals and businesses across all functions and industries, right? So I think we use data all the time. We use data to choose our traffic route, where to go to, like when we go to work, when we go to our dinner. We use data for our own health. Certainly, like, hospitals use data all the time. Pilots, when they're flying a plane, they use data all the time, from altitude, pressure, speed. And so to me, as data is required to do functions in an efficient and timely fashion, right? I think the more complicated the business, the more the value and the need of critical use of data. And so I think, to me, as we're thinking about all the touch points that are required to fund a loan, right? You need to exactly know where's your pipeline, what is stuck in each status. If you're doing a purchase loan, how many days outstanding it is situated right now in the pipeline. Your net promoter score, are your customers happy or unhappy? Your liquidity functions, because as we all know, liquidity is imperative in the mortgage industry, and it can dry up in a day, as it has happened, unfortunately, to some lenders out there, right? And so to me, the complexity of the mortgage industry is so high that the analytical rigor demands a very, very advanced use of data, right? And so I think to me, it's a matter of a need like oxygen rather than a luxury. And I feel that companies struggle with it because they have access to data, but they don't have access to intelligence, right? And by what I mean by that is, look, if you're a mortgage practitioner, you're dealing with funding loans, you're dealing with applications, you're dealing with items on the processing side, on the underwriting side, you're dealing with hedging considerations on the capital markets side, right? So there's very little time that you have as a lender to access the data, analyze it, process it, and turn that data into insights or into knowledge, so that
Yeah.
you can make better and faster decisions. So effectively, to me, um, I see that the struggle is, how do you take that data, and the bridge from data into insights is where folks struggle significantly.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You're right. The use and the leveraging of that data is what is really the key to it all, right? So that's a great service of Gallus. So can you share with our listeners some like real life examples of how Gallus Insights has helped mortgage or servicers or originators achieve real results?
Yeah, and I think the part that you highlighted on real results is key, right? Because if data is interesting, that's fun. But if data is useful, then that's where you can have transformative change. And so a lot of the way that we think about the world, Susan, is Gallus helps companies on what is happening, right? What is happening to my pull-through rates, to my fundings, to my locks, to my um, cycle times, to my concessions. So basically, one thing is rearview mirror. The second thing is, why are things happening? Why are things changing? Why is my profitability up or down? Why is my pipeline turning in a much more faster way or slower way, right? And then the other piece would be to predict what's likely to happen, which means like, okay, well, what's going to happen to my financials in 30 days, in 60, in 90, right? What could actually uh, make this company make X amount more money, or what would actually make this company have a liquidity problem, right? So all of those things are part of our value prop. And then the last piece would be what to do about it, the prescriptive part. So to give you a couple of examples, with one client, we worked on effectively mapping all their concessions across the profitability of all their loans, and we were able to effectively help them derive a right concession strategy, because they were realizing they were effectively providing way too many concessions on loans that they shouldn't have given any additional discounts. But at the same time, they were not giving enough discounts to loans that they were losing. They were not funding because they were locked and they were being lost to another lender. So to me, pricing, the second derivative of pricing, let me just actually take away the jargon. The second click of pricing, which is you have your rate sheet, then you have the concession that you choose to give or not give to a specific loan. It's somewhat of a delicate process. And when I tell folks that, look, 10 basis points, it's a huge impact. 20 basis points is even a much more of a significant impact. So if you are a big size lender with 80 billion in volume, 10 basis points is 80 million bucks directly to your bottom line, right? Now, while not all players are huge in that level of size, even if you're small, if it's not 80 million, it can be 100,000 or it can be 80,000, but very, very surgical precision on pricing and concessions can help tremendously. At the same time, we're able to basically say, look, guys, like these particular process or underwriters are better in these particular loans. And we've been able to help companies shift their resources in a way to allow them to decrease cycle times, to improve the pull-through rates. So a lot of it is really interesting because it's very fascinating. Once we start working with clients and we turn that data into insights, a lot of the actual decision points start to uh, be driven from that knowledge that we're deriving from those specific examples that I just provided, and that's just that's just a couple of instances where we've been able to say, okay, this is data, this is what it's telling us, and this is clearly the decision that we should be making, right, as a result of that information. So it's quite fascinating to see that data be turning itself into better and faster decisions for our clients.
Well, and it's creating efficiencies for the lenders, which everybody's looking for, right? And I'm sure it's driving down the cost to originate because you're creating efficiencies within the organization. So I think that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. What are some of the biggest challenges you see with lenders when it comes to like reporting and reporting analytics? And how does Gallus help them overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Susan. So it's interesting because reporting and analytics is difficult, right? And let's assume that a world without Gallus or without companies like Gallus, right? So what do you need to provide all that reporting, whether it's in Tableau or Power BI or Domo or pick your poison, right? You need first of all to have all the data is in silos, right? So you have your LOS, your CRM, you have your financial ledger system, you have your operations tool, your compliance tool. Everything is in different systems. So the first thing is that, my goodness, like all the data is in silos, right? So it doesn't
Right.
speak to each other, right?
Yeah.
So then you have to say, okay, I have to bring in everything into a centralized environment. So what does that mean? Choose your cloud, choose your data warehouse. Now you're dealing with a tech stack that you have to choose. And if you're a practitioner, you don't even, I mean, before I got into this business, I couldn't even spell cloud, right? And I don't expect my clients to be able to be experts in data management, right? So the first thing is you have to have an efficient ecosystem for data storage and data compute. Once you have that, then you need to pick on your tech stack on business intelligence. And then you have to hire either internal people or consultants to help you bring that data into insights that can use all those reports, all those platforms rather, to turn it into answers. So, but like the punchline here, then it's expensive. It has a bunch of execution risk, right? And most companies don't have neither the time nor the financial wherewithal to get there. So what do we do on the Gala side is our whole value prop is we help bring big boy analytics to middle market firms. We bring Wall Street analytics to Main Street, right? So what we do is we say, hey guys, you don't have to worry about thinking about the cloud, the data warehouse, the how to get the data. And I'm gonna throw some jargon, the infamous ETL tools. Don't worry about a thing there because we got you covered. We have data architects, we have our own tech stack. So with us, you just plug into Gallus and it's from data into knowledge or insights effectively in a flash. And so we have that environment that allows customers to view the data, but we also have our library of analytical content that effectively helps that allows our customers to leverage that particular analytical outputs that we already have. We already have the reports, right? And the last thing that I would tell you, Susan, is that Gallus is very easy to use. We always say that if you can use Google, you can use Gallus, right? So you can literally on Gallus type in what were my logs in the last 3 days in purchase in Little Rock, Arkansas, and you will get an answer. Or what are my top 5 loan officers in non-QM in California over the last 5 weeks, and you will get an answer. So while we have dashboards and we have all that fun stuff, we also have a very flexible and customer-friendly interface that allows you to search for data in the same way that we're used to searching for data in our regular lives, right? So you don't,
Yeah.
there's no SQL code when you go into Google, right? You just type in the thing. So we're all about having that library of analytical output, but also having a very, very easy interface where if you can use Google, you can use Gauss.
Yeah, anybody in the company can use that needs to, regardless of their level of, technological savvy, which I think is fantastic. Where do you see kind of business intelligence and analytics evolving in the mortgage industry over the next few years? And how are you positioning Gallus to head into those times?
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very exciting times, and I won't use like the infamous acronym AI, but I mean, it's really going to be a lot into large language models, right? uh, right now, where I think it's going to happen is all these technologies that are either machine learning or AI based or large language model based, whatever acronym you end up choosing, right? They're going to exponentially grow the potential of analytics and being able to turn data into insights. And so to me, the right now, a lot of these solutions out there, they're very good at giving you the what and to some extent the why. So you can say, oh, what happened to my logs? What happened to my fundings? Well, why did my logs go down or up? Was it like a specific loan officer or a branch? But they don't have a lot of functionality on digging deep into it, right? And being able to interact with the technology in the way that you would with ChatGPT. So where we're going now, and we're doing that now on beta on Gallus is, we say if you can use Google, you can use Gallus. Now the whole plan for this year will be if you can use ChatGPT, you can use Gallus. And so we're going to basically be we're going to be applying those tools onto our environment where you can actually interact with the data as if you had a Goldman Sachs investment banking analyst working for you, giving you all kinds of answers, but also giving you the prescriptive part of it. And the whole thing is that we're trying to empower informed decision making for mortgage lenders and servicers, right? And so if we have that knowledge base that can be fully deployed onto the executives and mid-level managers across the mortgage industry, then we can help them not rely on gut. And when we don't rely on gut, we are making just, again, better and faster decisions. So I think, to me, all the technologies that are evolving on the AI side is extremely exciting, and you're going to be able to just even get not only answers to questions that you have on the fly, but you're going to have answers to questions that you didn't even ask yourself, because it's going to be the equivalent of having you a prescriptive report of what to do and who to call, because the Gallus will tell you effectively what is happening to your business, and it's interacting with you like ChatGPT would. So that's basically, to me, where I think things are going in the next 12 to 18 months.
So many opportunities to create so many more efficiencies in, from an organizational standpoint, right? Like you're saying, like, be able to kind of take maybe, your personal feelings about, providing a concession or the performance of an originator to say, look, I've got the data to back it up. Either this is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, but it'll create efficiencies in the company. I think that's fantastic. Congratulations on a great company.
Thank you. Thank you, Zen. Absolutely. Thank you.
And Augie, you're of course a California MBA member. You've also participated as sponsor at our Mortgage Innovators Conference, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you for your support. Can you share with our listeners why you choose to support the California MBA?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Susan. Look, I support the California MBA because, and I mean this, like, you're all more than just a trade group. I see you guys as a force, right? And you're a force for innovation. You're a force for advocacy. You're a driving force behind effectively the future of mortgage banking. And we share the same mission, right? So we are on the Gallus side, we're here to promote innovation, to promote best practices, to promote data-driven insights, and to help mortgage professionals better serve borrowers and ultimately advance homeownership in the United States. So, I don't see myself as a CMBA member. I see myself as a partner to you all, and it's a privilege to join you in this mission to improve borrower experience and advance the dream of homeownership in America.
I love it. Thank you so much, Augie. I appreciate it. I'll look forward to seeing you at some of our events this year.
Thank you. I'll be there for sure. Thank you for having me here. Then all the best.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.